Magyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshudunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishnam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Srapadam Tikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vishwanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Satinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Tirobhak Mahotsav Tithi Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Gaur. So, pranam to all of you. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you Sudevi for sheltering us here in your own shelter. It's a beautiful place. So today we are, among other things, celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. So during the last weeks, we have been sharing about this main theme that we have called how to rediscover Krishna in our life. So we have tried to approach that topic from different places. And today I'd like to also approach it in connection to what we are celebrating today, to Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, and how the unmanifest presence of the Guru, if you want to call it somehow bodily unmanifest presence, still is present, can invite us to a rediscovery of the person who is no longer in front of us physically, and by extension, to rediscover Krishna. Because, of course, in our tradition, the way to know Krishna is through the sadhu. It's not that, okay, I'll make it myself and Krishna, and I don't need sadhu-sanga anymore. I mean, Chaitanya Charitamrita makes that very clear. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mol Hoit Sadhu-sanga, Krishna Prem Janmeten Hapunar Mukyanga. Sadhu-sanga is the root that gives birth to Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mol Hoit Sadhu-sanga. Krishna Prem Janmeten Hapunar Mukyanga. Even when you are trained Krishna Prem, sadhu-sanga remains mukhya anga. Sadhu-sanga remains a main expression of devotion. So sadhu-sanga is not so much like, okay, I'll struggle to get along with these guys here now, but when I'm in Golok Vrindavan, I'm like, I can release all that stuff. No. In Golok Vrindavan, sadhu-sanga becomes even more important. So better we get along with each other here and now, because as I like to say, we are not going anywhere, in the sense that we are all projecting ourselves to the same goal. So sadhu-sanga is a very important aspect. So in our last meeting, we were celebrating, as you know, Govardhan Puja, and we were trying to speak about how we can rediscover Krishna through everything, even through a garland that is coming and going. We can rediscover Krishna in everything. I'm taking... Okay, thank you. No problem. So we try to speak how the Govardhan Lila is teaching us some interesting lessons, and how we're discovering Krishna, how the Brajavasis received the storm from Indra, and that storm somehow represents some of the storms we have to go through in life, whether it's raining outside or not, but internally there may be some storm. Okay, thank you. and how the Brajavasis, by acknowledging the storm, going through it, eventually they find themselves in the most blessed situation. Uninterrupted darshan of Krishna for 1 week, which never happens in any other lila. So we talk about how from the worst possible situation, this apocalyptic rain that is threatening to kill the whole village, suddenly in a few moments, the Brajavasis are found in the best possible situation, which is unblinking sight of Krishna non-stop for a week. So what happened in between those two things? Brajavasis acknowledged the storm, went through the storm, took proper shelter in the proper direction, and as we mentioned, when they asked Krishna for shelter and mercy, they were not idealizing how the shelter and the mercy should look like. They never went to Krishna, Krishna, give us shelter, and you can pick this heel like a mushroom on your little finger and hold it. They were not even thinking about that. But that happened, and the Brajavasis were open to whatever shape Krishna's shelter takes, I'm for it. And we try to explain how sometimes we are not so ready to that. We sometimes attach our own assumptions. Krishna, give me mercy in this way. Krishna, give me your shelter, hopefully in this way. But the Brajavasis were like, give me shelter, whatever shelter I need to receive from you. And the paradoxical thing is sometimes Krishna gives shelter and mercy, but since it's so much out of our expectations how the shelter look, when he gives that shelter and mercy, we may feel terrified, and we run away from that shelter and mercy, asking Krishna again for shelter and mercy, and he say, that was my shelter and mercy. So in this way, the Brajavasis learned the lesson, and we're able to rediscover Krishna. Again, Krishna is a person that we want to relate to, the divine, and as with any relationship is about constant rediscovery. A relationship that doesn't include rediscovery becomes stagnant. It's not possible to keep a relationship functional, healthy, without a constant rediscovery of each other. So this does not apply only in the realm of human relationship, but especially with Bhagavan. So again, in many ways, we get to know God through the devotees. So it's very important to also, as we have to constantly renew our connection with Krishna, how to keep our relationship with the sadhus ongoing, how to not make that like a formality, how to not reduce sadhu-sanga like to a diplomatic, please accept my humble obeisances, and that's it. How to make it a living, vibrant, heart interaction that is constantly growing. So we'll try to connect somehow these topics today. Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day and rediscovering Krishna in our daily life. So somehow today what we are celebrating today is called Viraha Mahotsav. One way of referring to that, Viraha means separation. Mahotsav means great festival. So it may sound paradoxical. Let's make a great festival of separation. Because we may think, in separation, I may not be supposed to be celebrating. Maybe I'm supposed to be crying or suffering or who knows what. Somehow we are celebrating, at least from the outside eyes, it may seem, hey guys, you are celebrating the death of someone. How that can be like worthy of celebration? How can you put together celebrating something and someone's passing? Can death be celebrated? And of course, we'll say yes. Because we won't take death as death, in this particular case at least. When death is the so-called death, is the last chapter of a life well lived. How much we can call that death? If someone lived their life in the most living possible way, as alive as possible, how can we speak about death as something opposing to what happened before, right? Krishna says in the Gita, Yam Jamba Krishmaram Bhavam Teyanti Antikalivan Tattadevaitikam Tya Satatad Bhava Bhavita. According to how you pass from this world, you attain your next destination. But we can extend that to according to how you live your life, you pass from this world. Because it's not so much about, okay, I live my life in this direction, but in my last breath, I'll play my best trick and I will get here. No, it's too risky to calculate for such a magical trick. Better to live a life that we choose to live, and that at our last moment we are not, how to say, repenting. I will have liked to live my life like this. I will like to this and that. So may our life be lived in such a way that when we have to leave this body, there's no much difference between one thing and the other, basically. In one section even, and I know this can sound like too much, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur declared, for someone who lives their life very absorbed in bhakti, he'll say that person may not even notice that they left their bodies. Because they are so attentive to serving Krishna. It's like, I'm so attentive to serving, oh, I left my body, okay. No. Oh, okay, that was something that's happening somewhere else, so to say, but internally I'm very focused in my main duties. So that's possible, although it may sound like extraordinary, but you can live your life in such a way. You can be so alive in bhakti that death stops existing because you are so alive. You are connecting the living source of everything, right? So, yes. Welcome. That's the price of having the speaker next to the door, right? Whoever enters, like, oh, sorry, I'm interrupting. No, you're not interrupting. Please, welcome. Sit down whenever you're more comfortable. So again, there is a place for, there is a place for celebrating death, because in cases like today, there's no death whatsoever. No, it's life from beginning to end. If you spend a life well lived, that moment of passing should be celebrated, basically, must be celebrated. If you live the life well lived and you pass from this world having lived that life, that moment of passing is especially glorious. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself will say, that's not death, that's dying to live. And it doesn't mean that you died to live, but before that you were not living. It's another way of saying you are living all together in all those stanzas, right? So, and somehow when someone special to us passes from this world, that's also an invitation to us. No? In one sense, we could say, okay, that person died. In one sense, died in the sense of his or her physical presence disappeared from my sight. That died, if you want to use that word. And somehow, today I was reading one quote. Let me share it with you because it's very interesting. It's from a Christian mystic. His name is Henry Nouwen. He says, I'm deeply, and it came today because it's like a daily newsletter, and that came today coincidentally. I'm deeply convinced that the death of those whom we love always is a death for us. That is to say, a death that calls us to deepen our own basic commitment and to develop a new freedom to proclaim what we most believe in. So in other words, he's saying, when someone very special for us passes from this world, that somehow invites us to a certain type of death. Not that we are dying physically, but technically speaking, we are going through different layers of death on a daily basis. No, and I'm not saying with this just the body's dying, but I'm saying we need to go through ego death on a daily basis. Every day has its corresponding death. That's a way of conceiving. We're talking today about that in lunch with the devotees. Like every day, maybe part of my sadhana will be every day asking myself, what's the death that corresponds to this particular day? What's the ego death of today, November 5? Now, tomorrow there will be a separate one, a different one. And with every ego death, there will be a corresponding birth. With every death, there is a birth. We can talk that in terms of physicality, but also we can talk that in terms of if I go through an ego death, that makes me be born to who I am in the best possible way. So when we talk about the passing of great personalities, especially for those, of course, who are close to them, it's a type of death for us as well. It's a type of fire we are entering. Sometimes we hear this expression, the fire of separation. And that's not supposed to be just a nice poetic line, the fire of separation. But we are meant to enter into the fire. Fire basically means you enter into the fire, which is a very powerful symbol present in all traditions and in ours from the very beginning of creation, right? Because when Brahma was at the very beginning of creation, nothing was there except for Brahma and on one lotus flower. And the very first word he hears is tapas, tapas, tapas. And one meaning of tapas is fire. So we could make the case that fire is the first word that sounds in the whole universe to set the tone for what this is all about. There's fire, and you are supposed to enter into the fire. So it's interesting because Brahma heard fire, and he didn't took two like branches and started like, okay, I followed the instruction. Where is the lighter? Here, fire. No, he heard fire. He closed his eyes and entered into the deep meditation. So he embraced the fire of introspection. And that's a very important thing. If I tell you fire, maybe you think we need to call the firemen. Fire. Where? No, here. Here, go. And we're not supposed to extinguish the fire. We are supposed to enter into the fire. So, Swaha is not about throwing rice. The rice is symbolizing us. No? We throw rice because it may be not too user-friendly to just say, okay, guys, jump. Who is next now? It may be more user-friendly. Here you have a few grains of rice, sahas, nice. But the symbol of that is, I'm supposed to enter into the fire. No? And fire is not something bad. If you put gold into a fire, that will burn all the impurities, and the real purity of the gold will come. In fire with a few heats also. So the same way, if we want to extract the wealth of our greatest potential, we have to be willing to enter some fire, some sacrifice, some death, again, of the ego. Mm-hmm. So when a great personality like Prabhupada passes from this world, if a great teacher leaves our physical vision, they are inviting us to a corresponding death. Not the same type, because they're dying in their own unique transcendental way, but the death of anyone invites us for a certain death from our part, to die to certain ways of thinking so we can born into a deeper vision. Die to live. Die and be born again. That's how we can speak of progress. That's a good language for spiritual progress. What's a spiritual progress? Die, Srila Maharaj will say, accept a higher ideal, reject a lower ideal. Accept a higher ideal, release a, and that's an ongoing thing. It's not just one act performance. No. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say, today's perfection is tomorrow's imperfection. Not to go neurotic, but just not to also become complacent. Right? Okay, today I attain a certain perfection, a certain realization, a certain experience, a certain level of advancement, and we are celebrating that along with you. Great, Ki Jai. Tomorrow, we'll talk tomorrow about tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be a new invitation to grow a little bit more. No, we won't do that, all this stuff in a weekend, but every day, a little bit more. One death per day, so to say. Sometimes a few more. In fact, I remember talking with a friend of mine, and we were laughing about this, that sometimes we have some intense days where there's no one death per day. And she will say like, oh, maybe I will write my own biography, and the title will be 100 Deaths Before Lunch. Sometimes you have one of those days, like when you arrive to lunch, it's like, I already died 100 times today. But hopefully you were born 100 times also. Again, each death corresponds with some type of being born again, right? So anyhow, I don't want to only speak about that. But we are celebrating today the Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. So there is place to celebrate someone's passing from this world. When when that passing is exemplary. Now, we need people who show us how to live exemplary, and also we need to learn how to die, how to live, how to die. Everything is a lesson that we need to acquire. So great personalities live in service. Great personalities die in service. And if you die in service, you don't die again. But even the passing from this world is done in seva. Because a pure devotee can only think in those terms: loving dedication. Whether I'm walking, whether I'm leaving this body, everything is an act, an expression of love. Like Srila Prabhupada showed that in his departure chapter, which was so unique, so glorious. I cannot avoid connecting it with the passing of someone like Haridas Thakur, right? Which is highlighted in Chaitanya Charitamrita in much detail, whole chapters about the passing of Haridas Thakur. You don't find whole chapters about the passing of anyone, basically. But that shows how Haridas Thakur lived his life first, how he passed from this world, and how Mahaprabhu himself will honor, in this case, Haridas Thakur, taking his body with his own hands, dancing with the body, bathing the body in the ocean in Puri with his own hands. How do you say? Taking the soil for making the samadhi where the body of Haridas Thakur will be. Then Mahaprabhu himself begging from people bhoga and different preparations to make a festival to commemorate Haridas Thakur's disappearance day. So I will say that Srila Prabhupada's passing was equally glorious. Even though probably none of us saw with our own eyes Mahaprabhu coming and taking his body and dancing with it, I'm sure that was happening. Besides our vision, Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktimam, says Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavan, he's the Bhakta of his Bhaktas. He's the devotee of his devotees. So he's there to accompany them, to serve them, to glorify them. Krishna is so anxious to praise his devotees. Now, sometimes we forget that our relationship with Krishna is reciprocal, and sometimes we think it's just unidirectional. So I'm supposed to praise Bhagavan. But Bhagavan is praising his own devotees with thousands of mouths. To say that at one point, the same prayers we can offer to offer our love to Krishna, Krishna will take those same prayers and make those his, and offer them back to the one who's praying to him. So if you say, Krishna, I love you and I would like to give my life to you, because Krishna will take that and will reply to you, I love you, I would like to give my life in service to you. So at one point, it's like, who is Bhagavan and who is the devotee here? The two are using the same songbook, so to say, to pray to each other. So don't forget how reciprocal it is, because if not, we just get caught in this idea that, okay, it's all about me doing all this stuff so Krishna likes me someday. That's not Krishna. Krishna is already liking me, loving me, accepting me. Even before I realized that there is someone called Krishna. So from his part, he's already doing his job. He's already giving the mercy. Now it's about us to receive the mercy, to establish a relationship with the mercy. So, so in a celebration like today, of course, we could speak about mixed feelings, in the sense of celebrating the passing of someone creates some pain or some sadness, if you will, some suffering, some separation. When Mahaprabhu asked Sri Ramananda Roy, what's suffering? At the end of their conversation, Mahaprabhu did how do you call that nowadays? There is a name for that. That someone asks some question and you have to reply very shortly. Anyhow, you get my point.
Yeah.
Okay. So Krishna Bhakta Viraha Bina Dukkha Nahi Ar. Replied Ramananda Roy, to which question Mahaprabhu asked, what's suffering? What's the only suffering? He said, Krishna Bhakta Viraha Bina Dukkha Nahi Ar. Apart from separation from the Krishna Bhakta, I know of no other suffering. Of course, high level of reply. But he's speaking about the pain that is there in separation from a devotee. But at the same time, it's paradoxical Because in that pain of separation, there is so much union and so much love. And we have this concept of union in separation. Like if you can even experience that in this world. If you have some, let's forget for a minute about Krishna, so to say. Let's think about the relationship you have here with someone you love. And that person is nearby you, and somehow, for some reason, not anymore nearby you, for some time at least. Separation, suffering. But at the same time, in that distance, the presence of the beloved becomes so much condensed inside of you. Externally, not because he or she is not there, but internally. You start to internalize your feelings for that person because you cannot externalize them because the person is not there. They become internalized and start to churn and condense. Like Rupa Goswami will say, the Brajavasis, when they are in union with Krishna, they see Krishna face to face and they see one Krishna, the one who is in front of them. When they are in separation from Krishna, they see 1,000 Krishnas because everything reminds them of Krishna. So arguably, they find Krishna more present. I was sending that because you were falling asleep. It's me. No, it's okay, no problem. We love each other, so I can do that and even speak about that publicly in my stream. Imagine that. That shows how close we are. It's Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu. Come on, who has not fallen asleep in a class? I mean, it's part of the standard, right? Anyhow, so what I was saying?
When they see.
Yeah.
1,000.
So arguably, yeah, in separation from Krishna, everything speaks about Krishna. So there is a place to speak about union in separation. In fact, very interestingly, in Sanskrit, one of the words for separation is biyoga. Yoga means union, and biyoga, in one sense, can mean like vina yoga, without union. But also it can mean vishesh rupa yoga, our acharyas will say, which means a special type of union. So separation sometimes means a special type of union. There's no separation, at least in every sense of the term. You are just separated in one dimension, but you are getting reunited even more deeply on another dimension. So my point with this, and hopefully you get my point, we are celebrating the Srila Prabhupada's passing, separation, lila, separation lila from us. But the question that should be there for all of us is how that separation can bring a deeper union with someone like him. How can we rediscover someone like Srila Prabhupada after he has left our mortal vision? Let's put it that way. So we are getting there, but I'm just throwing some of these ideas. So celebrating the passing of an acharya again implies sadness, but also implies some celebration. We are celebrating his life, his exemplary passing, the chance of getting to know him deeper after that. So again, it's paradoxical. In the realm of love, we have to learn, get accustomed to think paradoxically. Joy and distress can be the two of them together at the same time. Union and separation can be happening. You can be in separation, but there's some type of union. And again, for our calculated mind, it's like, no, union or separation, joy or sadness. And it's like, no. All of them can coexist. That's the world of love. So many things coexist at the same time. So what's normally contradictory for our mortal mind is absolutely possible in the realm of love. So if we want to enter the realm of love, we have to be accustomed to think in those terms. It's possible for apparent contradictions to harmonize and coexist. So how to rediscover the sadhu after his passing? In this case, we are talking about Srila Prabhupada. As some of you may know, before Srila Prabhupada passed from this world, some of his disciples came to him and asked him, after you, because most of his disciples realized, okay, Prabhupada is leaving. Of course, he had so many situations before that, even heart attacks and stuff. So at any moment, the devotees were like, it may happen at any moment. But in the last month or so, it was becoming more clear. So some of them asked him, when you are no longer with us, and of course, this was a very difficult question to ask, because you don't even want to ask that to your guru. I mean, your guru is still there. You don't want to bring the topic of what to do when you are no longer here. You don't even want to think about that. But at the same time, somehow you start to see that that's coming, so you have to think about that in service. So some of them asking, like, when you are no longer with us, Srila Prabhupada, is there someone else that we can go for Siksha? So Srila Prabhupada mentioned my god brother from Navadvip, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj. So, as you may know, many of you may know, many devotees went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And they went after Prabhupada passed, of course, with heavy heart. Our Gurudev left this world. We are orphans now. What to do? Most of them were so young, such a big movement, so many things to do, what to do, how to do. Prabhupada left so much guidance, but nonetheless, the passing of a loved person, I mean, you cannot just anticipate that and calculate how you will feel after that. It's overwhelming. And that overwhelming proves your love for that person. So that's natural. That has to happen. If you tell me I love someone and that person passed away and I feel nothing, I get concerned. I feel like I question your love for that person, to be honest. So they were overwhelmed. They went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and they asked for opinions, advice, and guidance. And at one point, Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned this, which has to be properly understood. He said, okay, now Srila Prabhupada has passed, Swami Maharaj, as he will call him, because for them, Srila Prabhupada was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the god brothers of Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was generally known by his god brothers as Swami Maharaj. So now that Swami Maharaj has passed, now we will see who was a real disciple. So he made this point, not like threatening anyone, just like saying, now when the guru leaves this mortal plane, okay, that's arguably the most difficult test for the disciple. But at the same time, that shows how much of a disciple I am. How much am I able to continue connecting with my guru despite physical absence? How much I can continue relating to the essence of that person despite that person not being no longer there physically. But we say, no, we are not this body. So at the same time, if we are not this body, and we say, okay, the body is not there, okay, but the person doesn't mean that the person is not there. So how much attuned we are with Sri Guru. So we can, again, rediscover the Guru in his or her absence. That's an important dynamics. How to rediscover a person in their absence. That reminds me, Krishna in the Bhagavatam, in the Rasa Lila, when Krishna left the Rasa Lila, right? And again, or when Krishna left Vrindavan, let's put it that way, and all the Brajavasis were again finding Krishna everywhere. So in the same way, the passing of the Guru is an invitation for a deeper relationship with the Guru. The passing of someone like Prabhupada, though that happened almost, 50 years ago, 47? Yeah, 47 years ago. Still is something that we can relate to in terms of that passing that happened some time ago. Still today is inviting me to relate to that person who passed, to relate to that person today. No, not necessarily Prabhupada was someone from 50 years ago. No. How the question could be, who is Prabhupada for me now? No. What do I relate with in relation to Prabhupada? Things that he did 50 years ago, or do I experience him as a present person? You follow my point? Is him a past person that lived like decades ago, or is he an eternal, ever-evolving dynamic personality who is still accompanying me on a day-to-day. Again, that's the challenge in how to relate not only with Srila Prabhupada, but with any single person that may leave the mortal plane, but that doesn't mean they have disappeared, they have become extinct altogether. In radical let me read one part from Radical Personalism, very short, in connection to this, where I mentioned how this can be connected with sometimes when we feel that Krishna disappeared from our lives. Now, I've heard that many times talking with devotees. Like, I don't feel Krishna present. I don't feel. Where is he? And what's actually taking place in those moments of perceived absence? So it says like this, short excerpt. It says, a common experience is that God has disappeared from our lives. However, what has really disappeared is the usual way we conceived of God. All the while, he is actually getting closer. But this is happening in the darkness, in other words, beyond our perception. But since that new proximity is totally new and therefore unknown, some of us may feel that the sweet absolute is getting further and further away while he's actually closer than ever. In this way, a new system of perception begins to kick in and allows us to perceive God and be with him in a whole different way. So the same applies to the passing of a personality. No? Sometimes, again, we may feel in our life Krishna has disappeared. But Krishna is not that cruel. No? Krishna is not that bad. It's not like, oh, he got angry with me, so he went somewhere else. No. Probably he's getting closer. But if we are too attached to Krishna being at that distance, let's put it that way, that distance in this shape, and now he's here, I will insist that he has to be like that, but he's here, he's getting closer. So I'm just attached, expecting him to be at that distance, but he's getting closer. So I may feel, oh, he disappeared, he's getting farther away, now he's getting closer. So in the same way, many times when we feel that something or someone is getting far away from us, probably they're actually trying to get closer. But we have to be open to rediscover them in that proximity, in that intimacy. Like we were saying the other day in the Govardhan Lila lecture, Indra wanted to kill, well, first we went to Brahma, no? Brahma Vimohan Lila. In the Brahma Vimohan Lila, Brahma met Krishna at the beginning of creation. The Bhagavatam described that in the second canto. Krishna spoke Chaturshloki to him, and they had some interaction. Brahma and Krishna shook hands, the Bhagavatam describes. And Brahma felt, wow, this shaking of hands is nice. No? Vishwanath Chakravarti said, at this moment, Brahma wants Sakya Rasa with Krishna. No? He felt like, oh, what must it be to walk hand by hand with my friend? You see in India, friends go hand by hand. So then he thought, okay, I like to have that Sakya Rasa insight. But of course, when he has the actual insight of Sakya Rasa, it's too much for Brahma. He doesn't pass the test. No, he's in Vrindavan. He's Krishna in the circle, in picnic with his friends. But it's so different. That Krishna is so different from the Krishna he met at the beginning of creation. Because at the beginning of creation, Krishna was more formal, instructing him as a guru. And Krishna here is in the, in the pinnacle of informality, in full picnic with friends, eating with left hand, breaking all etiquette, tasting their own, giving their own remnants to each other. And Krishna giving his remnants to his friends, the friends tasting their own stuff, giving left over to Krishna. So Brahma felt like, what's this? What's this? That's not Krishna. That's not the Krishna I met at the beginning of creation. So he couldn't, actually this was the highest expression of Krishna, but he was not able to recognize that. So he tried to kidnap the friends and to do some, the result of that. Similar to Indra in the Govardhan Lila. Indra, in Indralok, he lives with Upendra, it is said in the scripture. Upendra is an expression of Bhagavan. Upendra, Vamandev. It is said that he accompanies Indra in Indralok. So my point is, Indra is accustomed to have got nearby him as Upendra. Now, when Upendra appears in his original form as Krishna, and he's canceling the Indra push and all that, Indra goes mad. He wants to kill everyone. Again, he cannot recognize, oh, that boy is the same, is the highest version of that same person. So you follow my point with all this? Now, we may be accustomed to know Krishna in a certain way, and when Krishna wants to get closer to us, more intimate, we may not recognize that. We may even attack it, saying, this is bad, like Indra did, like Brahma did. And Srila Maharaj made the point, sometimes regards to Guru also that may happen. We may have an experience of Guru on some level, and then we are put in contact with a deeper expression of Guru Tattva. And I'm not meaning a separate person, it can be the same person. And we may not recognize that, we may feel, oh, that's different. Or it can be different people, but representing the same principle. Because when we speak about Guru Tattva, this is an important lesson. In one sense, Guru is one. No? We can talk about the diversity of Guru, but first we have to talk about the unity. No? First unity, then diversity. Guru is one. It's one agency representing revealed truth. And there are many agents who are supposed to work as a team, not in competition, but representing this one department, Guru Tattva. Krishna is the original Guru. So Bhagavatam over and over again, so many verses in the Bhagavatam referring to Krishna as Jagat Guru, Guru, Akila Guru, the Guru of everyone, the Guru of the whole universe. So the different human agents that act as Guru, they are not like competing with one another. All of them should represent the same agency. So there is place to receive from certain Guru some level of revelation, and then from other Guru some deeper level of revelation. Not because one Guru was higher than the other necessarily, but just because I'm ready for a deeper level of revelation. And that may come, but I have to be open for that also. Because if not, I may attack that. Again, I may not recognize. So this is the same substance coming in a more confidential way. So in the same way, again, when Krishna seems absent in our life, probably he's getting closer. This would happen in the Rasa Lila, where Krishna disappeared, and the gopis ask, when Krishna returns, ask him like, why you left? It kind of didn't make sense to them. We were dancing, the gopis say we were celebrating life, everything was fine, and you just suddenly were not there. So why you disappeared? Of course, Krishna says many things, but at the end he concludes, as paradoxical as that sounds, I left because I love you. It's like, well, if you love, you should stay, not leave. I say, no, because I love you, and because I love you, I want the best for you. And the best for you is that your love for me augments. And I knew that the best way for your love to augment will be in separation. That's why I left, because I love you. So he make this full circle, and the gopis were like, interesting guy, this Krishna. Right? But he made that point, which is valid, which is valid. The purpose of separation creates, again, and invites us to internalize our feeling. And when we meet again the object of our love, we'll meet that person with an increased love, and we will rediscover that person. Krishna will be especially beautiful. That's what the Bhagavatam says, Sakshan Manmata Manmataha. When Krishna reappeared amidst the gopis, after he disappeared from Rasa Lila, after the gopis sang Gopi Gita, Krishna reappears, and Sukadeva Goswami says, Sakshan Manmata Manmata. Krishna reappeared, and he was the Cupid of Cupid. He appears in an astonishingly, uniquely more attractive way than ever before. So basically that means after that separation, as the saying goes, I think in English, separation makes the heart grow fonder. So the gopis were deeper into that. So when Krishna reappeared, they found him especially beautiful, like never before. So separation had a purpose, to increase the love. Actually, if there is genuine love, it doesn't matter, union in one sense, union or separation, your love will increase. No. You will, the gopis, when they're in front of Krishna, their love for Krishna increases. When they're in separation from Krishna, the love for Krishna increases. But union in separation creates an important dynamic to celebrate reunion. I mean, if there wouldn't be separation, there wouldn't be union, right? And I cannot talk about reuniting with you if we were never separated, right? So to taste that particular joy, that's necessary. So I would say that the journey of the soul, our journey in practice, in bhakti, is one of union and separation, or is one of, again, life and death, as we were talking today, different deaths, different rebirths, and rediscovering Krishna, rediscovering Guru, and rediscovering Srila Prabhupada, rediscovering each other. Let's not take each other for granted also. That's so tempting to think. Someone talks to me about, Hridaya Chaitanya. It's like, yeah, of course, I know him. He's the one who falls asleep in my classes. He's the one who did this, did that, many other things, nice things as well. But even if I say that, I'm taking him for granted, because he's that, but way more other things that I have to be open to discover. They may have not happened yet, but in potential, not only him, all of us. So, and this is such a big temptation, because it's so easy to limit people to our past experiences with that people, or to limit anything. If you tell me, Maharaj, a rose garland, and I'm like, yeah, of course, I know what that is. And I download all my previous experiences with rose garlands. So I limit the rose garland to my previous experiences with that. So the rose garland cannot become anything else apart from my previous experiences of a rose garland. You follow my point? What to speak if I apply that to a person? You tell me, like, do you know this or that person? Oh, yeah, I know that person. And I just download all my previous experiences with that person. But the point is that that person is not limited to those previous experiences. We are evolving. So if I don't leave the door open for that rediscovery of each other, just imagine how relationship will go on in that direction. So I always like in this connection to think of this term Anurak that Rupa Goswami invokes. So Anurak means the symptom of love, where Radha and Krishna, of course, it's about Radha and Krishna. We can draw some lessons for us. Every time Radha and Krishna meet, they find each other like totally new. It's like to the point that at some point they're like, who are you? Who is that beautiful bluish boy? Sri Radha will say. And Lalita will say, you have just been with him 10 seconds ago. And she said, no, it's someone else, someone new. It's new. It's not the same person. So that speaks about the constant update of the relationship. They're never the same. It's not like, oh, yeah, of course. I know that Krishna, he's that person. No, it's new. Who is him? And he's thinking the same way. Subal, who is that lady? And he said, like, Radha, we have been with her like 10 seconds ago. I said, no, it's not possible. Because I'm seeing an ever fresh beauty and so on and so. So again, this is happening in the spiritual world, but this is the law, the ethic of love. So if we want to enter into a life of love, we have to relate to each other, leaving the door open to re-know each other, rediscover each other. Because if I keep putting layers or putting people in boxes, Veda Priya, yeah, of course, Veda Priya, I know her, yeah. Whether I say something nice or not, but I'm putting you in a box. I'm not allowing you to be something else the next moment. That's not very generous. We do that a lot as conditions also. We love to put people in boxes. As we were joking the other day, we can call that act boxing. No? So it's almost like if I'm boxing with you. This may be even more friendly than putting you in a box, literally, right? So we should relate to Krishna. We should relate to someone like Srila Prabhupada in that way, with that openness to rediscovering that person, to not be so sure, I know who Prabhupada is. No. Of course, all of us have our experience of who is Srila Prabhupada for us, for others, but we should be very careful not to limit him to that, not to leave the door open to develop my relationship with that person. Right? Now, many times we have a generally we have fixed ideas about people that are still among us, and generally when someone departs, many times we make them even more fixed. Right? When someone passes away, the ideas that we have about people becomes even more like static, so to say. They're put in a certain box, presented in a certain version, and that's who they are. But again, Srila Prabhupada is a living person. He's a constantly evolving person, constantly growing and expanding. That's the nature of someone who is absolutely free. They are constantly expanding. He's not like a relic from the past, so to say. Srila Prabhupada is not a museum piece. Like is there like frozen in time. 50 years ago, all that he did, it was glorious, and we can go back to that infinitely. But also, he's not trapped in that, so to say, right? So it's a living presence in the here and now. And I know this may sound abstract to some, or difficult at least. Like, okay, but how to connect with someone like him in the present moment? Because that's the invitation. And Prabhupada is inviting us to connect to him here and now, today. To connect to who he is, to connect to who he continues to be. And to represent that today. Now, today we were talking with some devotees about this. Now, sometimes we evoke this idea of Srila Prabhupada said, and I have no problem with that. But also, that, in my opinion, that's Swami Padmanabha's opinion, in some cases we should also ask, what will Srila Prabhupada say now? It's exactly the same thing that what he says 60 years. In some things, of course, he will say the same thing. He said Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm sure he still will agree with that. But in other things, he may have something else to say. In some things, he may have changed his mind. He's a dynamic person. Again, we should be very careful in the name of praising someone like him, not to be limiting him, to be just this. So, of course, I know that this is tricky, because if we say, okay, we are in this particular moment, time in history as Gaudiya Vaishnavas in this community, so what will Prabhupada say or do about whatever, any given situation? And someone say, well, I don't know, because he's not here and I don't want to risk like interpreting what he will say, what maybe he will say something else. So I know it's risky, but at the same time, I will say it's even more risky to not do that exercise, because that's how we can keep his spirit alive in parampara, generation after generation. Of course, we have to go to his teachings, but also, again, he's a dynamic person. So in certain things, we need to be so aligned with his inner spirit that whatever he will say now, that should be said by us. And I know that, that's not arrogance. It's not like, who do you think you are? No. It's just, that's the spirit of parampara. What our previous acharyas will say today, I'm supposed to say that. We are supposed to say that. We are supposed to represent our guardians. And that's a big commitment. That's no joke. It's not just, I press a button and I know what to do on any given topic. That's not so easy. But that's the way to not only keep the current alive, but to connect with those personalities ourselves. A few more thoughts and we are concluding, or we open space for any questions and things you would like to share. But in connection to Guru Tattva, to Guru, we are celebrating today Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. He is our Guru Dev. Again, we have to be very careful in many ways. Guru Tattva generally said is one of the most difficult tattvas to understand. And that means also Guru Tattva is one of the easiest tattvas misunderstand. So as I say, one important point to understand on Guru Tattva is Guru is one to begin with. There is a unity in terms of the Guru. But at the same time, of course, Guru is plural. There are different personalities like Prabhupada. But at the same time, that particular personality of Prabhupada, we shouldn't limit him to be in one particular way. In one sense, there are many Prabhupads. What do I mean by this? You talk, I mean, I've had the chance of talking with many disciples of Srila Prabhupada and to hear from them their own heart and perception and experience. And each of them will like highlight, of course, many times similar things, but at the same time, each one will have their unique perspective, their unique Prabhupada. So to say, it's the same person, but each of them are relating to that multifaceted jewel from different angles. So there's one Prabhupada, but there are many Prabhupads in that Prabhupada. So we should allow that to happen also. And allow, again, someone like Prabhupada to continue becoming all that he can be. And if we love someone like Prabhupada, of course, we will be passionate about knowing all the angles to that jewel, even if we may have our own favorite one. Like, I don't know, if you are a wife and you love your husband, you love your husband as a wife. But also, if you love your husband, you want to know the perspective of your children, you want of your husband, you want to know the perspective of his co-workers. How do they see him? It's not that you want to become a co-worker and stop being his wife. It's just that you are just love that person so much that you're interested in all those other lenses. So in the same way, if we love someone like Prabhupada, we will be open to know him through the different perspectives of those who love him. And also at the same time, we will, again, giving Srila Prabhupada the chance, let's put it that way, of continuing to be all that he wants to be in our lives today. Like with Krishna. Krishna wants to be all that he can be for you today. But we have to allow that to happen. It's like someone comes to you and tells you, I'd like to be all that I can be for you today. I say, no, you just remain in this box. That's who you are for me. And Krishna says, okay, we have to begin somewhere. Krishna enters the box and very patiently and humbly and generously accepts the conditions, terms and conditions. Okay, let's start there. Can I go out of the box? Not yet, we will say. I'm making it a little like ironic and tragic, but somehow that's like that. So in the same way, again, that's not limited to Krishna, but how we relate to each one of us, how we relate to Prabhupada. Ideally, in our interactions, we should invite each other, be all that you can be in your relationship with me. That's my commitment in a relationship. I don't want to say, okay, we are relating to each other, just be a 25% of what you are with me. I don't want the other 75%. Just reduce yourself to 1/4, please. No, that sounds impersonal. So the risk, quote unquote, of a relationship is like, I'm inviting you to be all that you can be in me, and vice versa. And I know that has its price, how much we are willing to allow the other person to be all that they can be. And all that they can be, of course, I'm not talking here about Prabhupada, but here I'm talking about us. Sometimes, okay, allow me to be all that I can be means that includes my messiness, my brokenness, my doubts, not only my glorious stuff, so to say. So how much we are willing to accept each other, accept the complete packaging, so to say. And from that acceptance, trying to help and redeem each other and work and grow together. No? That's for me how it should be. That's how Srila Prabhupada accepted us. No? Prabhupada didn't put conditions in the beginning. Okay, in order to approach me, you have to be perfect. You have to fall. No? It was like he was adapting to our situation like extremely. No? It's like too much in one sense. Never too much for someone like him, but at the level of adaptation, which invites us to it's not enough to say, Jai Srila Prabhupada, he adapted to us so much. Please continue to do that. it feels so nice. Okay, we can say that the first weeks or months or years, but at one point the wind will speak to you back like, and what about you doing the same with others? What about you extending yourself to adapting, like showing mercy, showing compassion, and so on and so forth. So, so I think days like today invites us for this kind of reflection. At least for me, it's always like that. Okay, today is Srila Prabhupada's Tirobab, whether it's Tirobab or Abir Bab. Recently, we were in, I think it was in Switzerland. I mean, recently, a few months ago, celebrating his appearance day after Janmashtami. And we were talking with the devotees. Okay, we are on a birthday here. We are supposed to bring some gift. In every birthday, we bring some gift. So, and ultimately, the gift is us, right? I mean, I can bring some external gift, but ideally, the charm of the gift is that I'm offering my heart through the gift to you. If there's no heart in my gift, and I just give you the gift with zero heart, you may feel insulted even. You will feel like nausea or taking the gift. So the question is, yes, my heart is the offering, my heart is the birthday gift. So how can I offer myself a day like today? How can I relate to this person today? How can I represent this person today? How can I honor? I mean, if I'm really touched for what that person did, how much I'm living up, how I'm embodying those ideals, how I'm walking my talk. On some level, again, not to invoke any neurosis and feel I'm not doing that yet, I'm so bad, and bring the whipping festival, whipping and whipping. but to be honest and sincere, how can I commit myself to this person who basically changed my life? How I'm willing to change my life. Okay, that person changed my life in some way, but how much I'm committed to continue changing my life? Because it's not just one change, thank you so much, but again, daily change, daily death, daily rebirth. That's a connection with a person like Srila Prabhupada. No? It's a connection with the saint, is an invitation for a constant, how to say, resurrection, if you will. Death and resurrection, death and resurrection. So, so in that sense, whatever we have been talking these days about Krishna, in the previous lectures, about the willingness to rediscover Krishna, not taking Krishna for granted, allowing Krishna to be all that he wants to be in our life. All this applies to someone like Srila Prabhupada also. He's as real, as living, as Krishna himself. So one way to rediscover Krishna is by rediscovering who Srila Prabhupada is, by remaining open to an ongoing relationships. Like relating to Prabhupada is not so much like having the right ideas about Srila Prabhupada or having the right beliefs about someone, but it's more like, what's my relationship, my living relationship with that person? Prabhupada is not a concept from the past. It's a living reality in the present. So, real person, totally alive. So we should have a relationship with him that is equally alive. So again, I think important question to leave you with and to leave myself with is again like, okay, who is Srila Prabhupada for me today? And but don't reply in terms of what he has done in the past only. Again, who is Srila Prabhupada for me today? What I'm not asking here for public confession and you have to say now. You can do that homework at home later and ask her to try to, as part of the gift today, hey Prabhupada, who are you for me today? Who am I for you today? Which is our relationship? How we can continue growing in this exchange? And try to pray deeply, try to spend some time with the question. We may not get the answer immediately. Sometimes we need to stay with the question some time, and the question gradually transforms into the answer. So, yeah, a few thoughts I want to share today in terms of somehow trying to connect this idea of how to rediscover Krishna in our daily life on Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And we have a few minutes, so if someone has something you would like to share, whether it's question, commentaries, personal offerings for Prabhupada, door is open for whatever needs to be brought to the table. Jagannath.
Thank you for your words, very beautiful words. I will try to make the question. It's a little bit confusing in my mind how to put the question.
Okay.
In simple way, I could just ask like this: like, will God love us more when we are pure devotees than now? Because I was thinking, okay, in the beginning we approach Krishna and we say, okay, it's more like there is not this unconditional love, unconditional understanding that he more than nobody know how difficult it is or how much you're trying, And we have this one, no, until I'm not perfect, Krishna will not feel nothing for me or whatever. Then we somehow understand, start to see that he in reality love you already, accept you as you were saying. But then I was thinking, okay, then what is the difference between what Krishna feels for us now and what Krishna feels for his pure devotees? There is more love there. He will love me more. He will love me. I don't know if this is kind of clear.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll try to reply, and if I say any nonsense, that shows that I didn't get your question. Hopefully not. But yeah, of course, important question. And just to make that foundational point before answering the question is, because you mentioned that sometimes we may think, okay, unless and until I become a pure devotee, Krishna doesn't love me. So that's a very wrong idea. Just in case I'm making that clear. If you think that Krishna doesn't love you and only will love you after you love him first, now that's such a not only distorted idea, but such an exhausting idea, because it's all up to you. Now you have to do all the whole thing, all the effort, all the sadhana, all the loving, and then Krishna says, okay, now I love you. It's like, what? So the condition is you love me first, then I love you. So that condition makes such love, will make such love conditional. No, not unconditional. But Krishna's love is unconditional. And there are so many statements in Shastra to that effect where Krishna is saying, he's expressing his universal love for everyone. Why? Because he is love. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Rasa vai saha. Rasa vai saha, which means he, Krishna, the Absolute, is rasa. What's rasa? Another way of saying love, the highest form of love. So he is rasa means he is love. So Krishna is love. Krishna doesn't have love. He is. It's difficult to understand because you don't cross people, meet people across the street like made of love. So, but if you're made of love, you cannot refrain from loving because that's who you are. No? You cannot ask the sun to be dark. There's no darkness in the planet, in the sun planet, because that's who the sun is, light. So Krishna is made of love. He cannot not love. So he loves. That's now your question is, okay, is there some difference in how he loves us or someone who is even not engaged in any spiritual practice, someone who even says God does not exist for me, and someone who is practicing and someone who is in the highest degree of practice? Is there a difference? And if so, what's the difference? There's more love, less love, different love. I generally like to give an example, and hopefully the example suffices and helps to understand what we are talking about here. And the example is that of a mother. No, so a mother has a baby. I mentioned this example many times. Mother has a baby. The baby is 2 weeks old. So the baby is not yet aware there is something called mother. No. So the baby is not probably aware of his own existence. Now, what to speak of another person, the mother. But the mother is loving the child unconditionally. You have to love the child unconditionally because that's the only way it can work. For a mother with a baby, and she won't sleep, she won't eat, everything will be like. I mean, there are a few mothers here, and I've talked with many mothers throughout the time, and I talk with my own mother. I have my mother, and Though she says that I was a pretty, relatively peaceful, nice baby, I was still a baby, so probably she was not able to sleep at proper time and changing my diapers and all that stuff. No? So you have to love the baby unconditionally, and that happens. That happens. It's naturally. So we could say the mother loves the baby unconditionally. The baby is not aware of the mother's existence. So that's not particularly reciprocal, let's put it that way, right? But the mother has love. And so follow the example. The mother represents Krishna. The unaware baby is us. No, maybe not even aware of God's existence, even though he's loving me. So the mother has a certain flavor of love for the baby in 2 weeks. And please, the mothers present here, you can correct me if I'm missing it, because I'm not a mother in this lifetime. But when the baby starts to grow and become aware of, oh, there is something called mama, right? Oh, and eventually he starts to realize, oh, and she has been serving me all this time and giving her heart unconditionally and passing so many sleepless nights and fasting and starving and vomiting and all that stuff while taking care of me, while I was not even aware of her existence. Gradually you feel like, oh, I would like to give something back to her. So the previously unaware baby now becomes an aware child, let's say, and starts to love the mother more intentionally and consciously. So the mother will reciprocate with that particular shape of approach from the child. The mother already loved the child from before, and now her love is taking a particular form to reciprocate with the child's approach. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not that the mother was not loving the child before, but the form that the love will take will be different when the other person takes some initiative in the relationship also. And probably that reciprocation naturally will intensify the experience for both. Naturally, no? Because when I love you, but you don't love me, okay, there we can say, okay, there is love, but when the full equation is present, when both parts are reciprocating, naturally the whole thing overflows, let's put it that way. So that's how it's described in the scripture. No, Krishna has love for everyone. I won't try to measure that, like more or less, calculate how much, 30%, 10, 9. But just like Krishna, like what Krishna says in the scripture many times, like I'm equal to everyone, which basically means I love everyone unconditionally, but if someone approaches me lovingly, I reciprocate accordingly. Which doesn't mean he doesn't love those who do not approach him. It's just saying those who approach me, naturally I reciprocate with their love. No? So that initial unconditional love takes a particular shape to reciprocate. And arguably becomes deeper and more intense by way of reciprocation, because now there are two parts involved. It's not only one part. So you can love someone unconditionally without being reciprocated. But when there is full reciprocation, naturally, love reaches another heights, something like that. Yeah. Something else you would like to? Yes.
I was wondering, talking about loving relationship with the spiritual master and Krishna, and you were also speaking about being open to seeing the different facets of the jewel and not putting them in a box, so to speak. So I was just wondering, should there be some qualification? I feel like can there be arrogance to think that I should be able to just see all these different aspects without any? Should there be some qualification? Like, I'm thinking in any kind of normal human relationships, couldn't expect to share certain aspects of myself to someone without there being some qualification. So that was one part of my question, and the second part was the aspect of service. So my understanding to be a loving relationship, service is an integral part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that, I guess somehow linked to the qualification. I'm just wondering if this.
So what will be the question regarding service? The last part.
That, and I think this was maybe connected to the beginning of your talk, where you said that we may feel sometimes in our spiritual life, I'm not feeling Krishna's presence,
Mm-hmm.
like this. And so I'm wondering, like, is that also part of it? Can we expect to feel Krishna's presence or see different new aspects and stuff if there isn't that element, if the element of service is missing? So there's sort of two things.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll try to say something, of course. So regarding the first part of the question about, someone like Srila Prabhupada or one's guru or anyone for that matter, each person is every person is a multifaceted jewel, and as you mentioned, I won't speak only about different perspectives, like from different sides, but also different levels of depth of the person, right? So in that connection, I'm thinking about what you said. There has to be some adhikar, some eligibility of how much you can get to know me, and also how much I'm willing to open myself to you or to someone. And I mean, that cannot be forced, basically, in the sense of, it makes sense that if I met you first meeting after 5 minutes, I mean, we cannot just expect to be best friends. No? We don't know each other, basically. We may end up being best friends, but there's a journey in between that we need to get to know each other, and that takes time, and we need to go through things, and we need to, show that we are worthy of being trusted, and and that takes time. That takes time and dynamics, and in that sense, we can talk about eligibility or qualification. So talking about someone like Srila Prabhupada, of course, also we can talk about Prabhupada in so many levels also. I mean, I haven't gone in that direction today, but there is even some level of conversation in terms of, who is Prabhupada in his eternal identity? And how to relate to him. And I won't go there now, it's a whole conversation, but of course, that's a conversation that also requires some qualification, if you will. It's not just first day someone is talking to me about Prabhupada, and by the way, you know what, his spiritual identity is this, and you can, and that's not the moment yet, probably. So for sure, yes, when we talked about someone like Prabhupada, or again, anyone else for that matter, we need to take time to get to know the person. Because, and I have had some recent experience in this, in maybe a different direction, but there is such a temptation to talk about other people without knowing them. No, to share opinions, and not so much to talk to other people, but to talk about other people. It's just one different word, but it makes a whole difference. And many people likes to talk about people, but they don't like to talk to people. So that's basically what I will call gossip. Things that I should be talking to you, I'm talking them about you to someone else, but I'm not taking the time to have a conversation and see it and get to know you, and you get to know me, and that's what brings qualification, so to say, for going deeper into the person. So sometimes, these things happen, people sharing opinions about other people and without taking the time of knowing the person, and for me that's so so impersonal. That's why I named my book like this. Radical personalism, because I've seen so much impersonalism. We are not treating each other as persons, basically, and we are part of a tradition with hyper-personalist. So to be impersonal in such a tradition creates such a distasteful contrast. So that's an aside, but in connection to your point, no? Like if we want to talk about someone, know the different aspects and depths, yeah, qualification is required, and qualification in part means take the time to get to know the person and do whatever it takes to get to know. It's not only just time, no, because it's like, okay, I get to know you today. It's not that just by letting time pass we develop our relationship. Just by letting time, we never talk to each other, but just let the time pass. No, you have to do something during that time, and at the same time, you need time in the concept of what you're doing, right? Like a mother being pregnant, again, it's a mixture of longing and patience. Right? She has to wait 9 months, but it's not that she will be like, okay, I'll sit till 9 months. No, she's longing, and so many things are happening, but at the same time is required. But you are doing things between that. So yeah, that on that side. Yeah, one last thing in this connection that comes to mind is, as some of you may already know, I personally am very closely connected with Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, who was very closely connected with Srila Prabhupada. And I mean, since day one, when I joined the ashram 25 years ago, for me, it was like both of them were presented to me equally on day one. So I cannot think of one without the other. That's like the DNA I received. I cannot just like see them separate, which is beautiful in its own way. I'm talking just about my unique combination, which I'm not saying is way worse or better. It's just what it is, but it's beautiful for me. And Srila Siddhar Maharaj will used to speak about Prabhupada in such a beautiful way, in such a tasteful way, and glorify him because he was so close to him. They were so close friends. And again, connection to this is he was praising Srila Prabhupada, in my opinion, in ways that I've never heard, but also he was so close to him and they lived together for years. So my point is, they earned the qualification to know each other, and then, of course, they can praise each other in this beautiful way, but they had a deep relationship and friendship for years. So yeah, that's connected. No? You need to get to know the person. And in relationship to service, yes, of course, service is very important. And of course, when I say service, this is a word, service, but what does service mean also? Because sometimes for some of us, service is reduced to doing stuff, right? Like, okay, wash the pots, distribute books, get donations. And I'm not saying those things are not service. I'm just saying, again, let's not be reductionistic. Okay, this is service, doing things, but also feeling things, because you ultimately serve. Our original word could be seva, and seva is a deep word. Seva means give pleasure to the object of your affection. That means seva. Seva doesn't mean just mop the floor and it doesn't matter what's going on inside of you. No. That can be karma, probably. It's an action. But seva implies I have an object of affection, in this case, guru or whomever, and I'm acting in a favorable way for my guru's pleasure. So there is some intention there. I'm not just doing things like mechanically, or because I have to, or I'm supposed to, or everyone is telling me, but I choose to. I invest my intention. I want to give pleasure to this. I want to please you. I want to make you happy because you are the object of my affection. That's seva, what we translate as service. So I'm saying all this why, because maybe the service can be just, I will pick a flower to put in the sandals of my guru, to put in the picture of my guru. And it's like, just that? Just one flower? I mean, if it's properly done with that single flower, you have conquered the heart of your guru, of Krishna. If you invest your intention and your heart in that single act, it's not that I need to do something big. No. I mean, offer your heart, that's something big. That's the biggest thing you can possibly do. I mean, Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toya. He's not saying, offer me a. I mean, I have nothing against offering something big in service as long as we understand we have the heart in the right place. And as long as we diminished someone offering Krishna flower, fruit, water with full heart. In that famous verse, Krishna says the word bhakti twice. He says, Patram Pushpam Phalantoyam. Yeah, flower, fruit, water, leaf, that's fine. But bhakti, bhakti, he says twice. Like, I want your heart. If your heart is in the offering, you can even give me a banana peel. No, we know the story. You give Krishna a banana peel. In this verse of the Gita, he says, flower, fruit, water, you give me with the heart, I accept it. No? So you could say, okay, when Vidura's wife offered Krishna a banana peel, he could have said, okay, it's with love, I accept the banana peel. And he puts that there, but I accept. No, he's taking it and he's devouring it in another one. Because he's not eating banana peel, he's eating bhakti. No, Krishna feeds on bhakti. So my point with all this is that service to Prabhupada, service to Guru, yes. But service doesn't mean just something in particular, but it can be anything I'm doing with that attitude, giving pleasure to the object of my affection, to having the heart in the right place. You may be offering again your Gurudev a little flower, and nobody else knows about that. It's not that something that it's announced in the monthly newsletter of your community. It's absolutely private and intimate and anonymous. But it's between you and the object of your affection, and that's it. That's enough. That's sufficient to capture the heart of the object of your affection. So I think it's important to keep that definition of service in mind. No? Because Prabhupada will use the word devotional service. So he qualifies service with devotional, like implying there has to be bhakti, devotion, love, affection. There has to be intention. There has to be heart. Because if not, it's so easy to just do things. No? Multitasking. Doing and become hyperactive in doing, but the heart has to remain in the right place. You can do all that you want. It's great. As long as the heart remains in the right place. So, yeah. In that sense, we'll say service is very important. Service will be, again, a natural expression of my love. If I love someone, again, I'll give myself in love to that person. In whatever form it takes. Again, the form that service takes, that's absolutely secondary. For the need of service, it can take different shapes. It can be, opening a big temple. I can be washing the pots. I can be offering a flower. I can be writing a book. I can be cooking. I mean, that's secondary, right? The form seva takes, Krishna is not paying attention to that. Krishna is paying attention again. He didn't saw the banana peel. He just saw the spirit of the offering. Bhava Grahi Janardana says in the scripture. Bhava Grahi Janardana, name of Krishna. He's Bhava Grahi. Grahi means to grasp, to take. And Bhava means our inner mood, attitude. So he only sees that. In one sense, it seems like, such a relief that he doesn't care for a perfected offering externally. But at the same time, it's challenging. Because he only sees my inner attitude, means I cannot cheat Krishna with a big, fancy, external thing if my heart is not in the right place. You can make all the fancy arrangement. You can pay to someone, cook this feast for Krishna. And Krishna is like, where's your heart? Like, that's the only thing I'm interested in. So we cannot cheat him in that way. We can cheat ourselves and others, but not him. Yeah, spiritual bypassing is not the idea. The other day, as I was sharing, of course, in the Bhagavatam, you never find the expression spiritual bypassing, because to begin with, the Bhagavatam is written in Sanskrit. But in the very first verse, second verse, Dharma Pradito Kaitavo Tra, basically that's what it's saying there. Dharma Pradito Kaitavo. Kaitav Dharma means cheating in the name of religion. It's another way of saying spiritual bypassing. And Bhagavatam says this book utterly rejects spiritual bypassing.
What's the meaning of bypassing?
Bypassing is like it's como evasión espiritual. Sorry, I had to resort to Spanish with my Argentinian brother. No. So yeah, you use spirituality to, how to say, to justify, to hide your lack of spirituality. So you make a show of spirituality, so nobody realizes that you are not doing what you're supposed to do. So yeah, almost the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Dharma Pradito Kaitabo, first verse, second verse, or the first is an invocation, anyhow. Like saying, if you don't get this one, you won't get the 18,000 verses that come after this. You know, like, don't cheat yourself or others in the name of religion. So this is connected with this idea, you know, that service. Service is not just, okay, I will do lots of big stuff, and I have my seat in Golok Vrindavan warranted, or who knows what, each one with their own crazy ideas. And Krishna is just waiting for your heart. Which is simple, but it can be difficult also. Because what is simple is difficult for us sometimes. Sometimes to practice spirituality, to love Krishna is simple. To be simple, oh, it's so difficult. Because we are so complicated. So when something is too simple, it's like, we cannot, it's like Chinese, we don't get it. Simple?
But Srila Prabhupada said simple to the simple, complicated to the complicated, right?
So in many ways, probably our practice is about simplifying ourselves in many aspects, right? Yeah, some thoughts. I hope that helps. Thank you. Something else you'd like to share? Yes?
Right, you just mentioned the word spiritual bypassing, which was also related somehow to the question I was thinking about, because you mentioned that we should be ready to enter the fire, which ultimately leads to the death of our ego, almost on a daily basis. And yeah, my question was, how does this look like?
Sorry.
Practically, because we hear that the holy name extinguishes the fire of material existence. To which extent should we be aware of what we are offering into this fire, so that we get this purification and get rid of our nervous? And to which extent should we just be open and willing Krishna to take away what we are ready to get rid of?
I would say, because you quoted this line from Sikshastakam, holy name extinguishes the forest fire of material existence. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Yes. But before Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Mahaprabhu says Chetodarpanam Arjanam. Because there's a sequence in that verse. Now that's the first verse of Shikshastakam, and there are 7 different, I won't go into all of them, but 7 different stages, all of which represent the stages of Bhakti also. Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes that connection. From Shraddha to Prem, they are kind of mentioned in all the verses of Shikshastakam. They're like summarized in the first verse of Shikshastakam. So the first line, the very first thing is Chetu Darpanam Arjanam. So it says, okay, the chanting of the name cleanses the mirror of the chitta, technically speaking. Chitta means chitta. And a word for chitta, that's the point I want to make, is subconscious. The chitta refers to a subconscious mind where we have all these different samskars stored. But they're in the subconscious mind, means it's not like here. So it's interesting that the very first word that Mahaprabhu pronounces in the only written thing that we know of him is subconscious. like implying you have to do something with that. So Cheta Darpana Marjana means by chanting the name, the mirror of your subconscious will be cleansed. So when there is dust somewhere and you start to clean it, sometimes it's not that it's a very pretty thing. You start to move and there's a lot of dust. Let's put it in this case. You enter a room which was not clean for a few lifetimes, and you're just like, okay, you don't even see the dust because it's so established that it seems like, oh, this is everything painted gray, interestingly. No, it's all dust. Okay, so you take like a broom, you say, and like a little bit, and like dust. Cheta Darpana Marjana. No, you start to chant. Somehow the point is you start to chant, and many of the stuff that is in the subconscious mind the dust starts to move, and now you start to become conscious of what was in your subconscious. And that can be strong. That can be intense, because you start to realize, oh my gosh, and I have this stuff, this motivation, this fear, this. So, but it's okay. And my point, and that means you are entering to the fire because all the things are coming. You're being confronted with certain limitations and doubts. But in the context of all that, you have to remember also Krishna loves me unconditionally. Because if not, you may go crazy thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm such a mess. I'm the worst of the worst. But no, we're all in that same cleansing process. So my point is that big part of this ego death, or so to say, or entering to the fire, however we may like to express it, is when we are practicing not only chanting, but just living our life as a devotee. I won't limit my practice to chanting, but my practice is everything I do from since I wake up, since I go to bed. Because if not, it creates this dichotomy like, okay, I have my 2 hours of practicing, and then I can just be. I can just be. But no, you have to live your life aligned with those 2 hours of chanting. Your day should be like coherent, right? So in that way, your practice may begin in those 2 hours, but eventually your whole day becomes your practice. Your life becomes your practice becomes your life. The two of them kind of like merges. So to enter into that fire, in one sense, is just to be honest about what comes as a result of your practice. Like, okay, I'm practicing, the dust of my subconscious is moving. I'm starting to realize certain fears I have, certain doubts, certain limitations, certain whatever stuff. Okay, I will accept it. No, it's not that I will over-identify myself with that. I'm that, no. But that's going on. I'm having this, whatever, each one in their own journey, at least in certain stages of the practice. Like when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes, Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, instability in Bhakti. He describes all these symptoms, struggling with desires and just superficial enthusiasm and like difficulty to keep your vows and things like sometimes we don't want to talk about that because what they will think about me if they know that I am having this difficulty and then. So enter into the fire and go through an ego death. For me, it's like accept those things. Accept those things, and on top of that, accept that Krishna loves you as the mess that you are, for the mess that you are. That kills your ego. Imagine, in the most embarrassing moments of your day, try to reconnect with the fact that you are being fully loved and accepted by Krishna. That's an ego death, literally. Ego death doesn't need to be like, I'm such a rascal, I'm a bad person, I'm the worst of the. Probably that's augmenting your trauma and your conditioning. No, many times it's just acknowledging my frailty as a human in the context of being loved unconditionally by Krishna. That combination is absolutely powerful because it's not just oh, Krishna loves me, I'm so unique, so special, he loves me, from that narcissistic place. But it's not only also, I have all this stuff, unresolved problem, I'm such a bad person. Nobody's saying that. But try to make a middle point between the two, to be sincere, honest enough about who you are, who you can be today. Not try to, don't try to be something you are not. Don't try to fake it. Don't try to make a facade to impress people so they think you are, I don't know, more advanced than what you actually are, more knowledgeable than what you actually are, more anything than what you actually. From which place comes this need to impress others or to show something I'm not? So entering to the fire of ego death, being yourself and knowing that you are already loved and accepted, at least by Krishna. Not only Krishna, hopefully, but even if it's only Krishna, that should be enough. I'm saying that because some people, when you want to be honest and sincere and raw and vulnerable, they don't like that, because that scares them, because that kind of reminds them about what they should do. And it's like, I don't want to see that. No, let's put masks. And let's make some show and facade in the name of Krishna consciousness. So that's why also it's so important to have like close, hopefully some friendship and intimate association with other Vaishnavas or people that we can be ourselves, as simple as that sounds, with people that allow us to be ourselves, that give us permission to be ourselves. We should give ourselves permission, but if the other person is like constantly uncomfortable by me being myself, that doesn't work. So if we give ourselves permission and the other person also, that can be so freeing, so empowering. Like, wow, I can be myself. It's okay. It's okay. This is who I am. Are you sure I can be myself? Yeah, it's not a dangerous. No. It's okay. No, welcome. You're accepted. No, that's how Krishna is receiving us. No? So when we enter into that important combination, that's a more substantial ego death I can think of. So it's not just about self-loathing, so to say. It's just having integrity and sincerity to ascertain where I am now, and at the same time, no matter where I am, Krishna is loving and accepting me unconditionally. So that's so humbling. That's my point. That's so moving. So that shatters all these ego masks, so to say. So I think that's very important to try to go to those places internally as much as possible, whether it's in prayer, in chanting, in revealing our hearts and minds to other people that we deeply trust, that we can feel that, okay, I can be myself, I can be. Let me share one quote that I shared today. I shared it yesterday in this connection. And it's very related to something also I wrote in my book about darshan, which means being seen. With this, we may conclude. And this famous Gopi Bastra Harana Lila, where Krishna is stealing the cloths of the gopis, which in one sense means Krishna wants to see the gopis' nakedness. But nakedness in terms of, I want to see you for who you are, transparent. No? Take the nakedness internally. No? And when Krishna sees that nakedness, he's very pleased. And the gopis are like, as we know, they leave the lake, the Yamuna, go, Krishna's on the tree with the clothes, like, okay, you want the clothes, you have to come here, one by one, and in a row. And the gopis come like covering their intimate parts, and Krishna's like, you know what? You have bathed naked in the Yamuna. That's an offense. So now you have to beg forgiveness to the Yamuna. And do you know what's the way of doing that? You have to take your two hands and put both up top of your head, which means like, again, naked. No? So again, the teaching we have to take is, even when we are approaching Krishna, trying to cover parts, for him not to see the most embarrassing parts of myself, Krishna say, naked. No, like implying, I already know you, I already see you completely. So why are you trying to hide yourself so much? I already love you and accept you. So But you have to release that fear and just trust and allow yourself to be accepted and allow yourself to be seen by Krishna. So I like to share this beautiful quote that another devotee sent me, very short, from Father Richard Rohr, someone that I appreciate a lot. And he's describing this in connection to prayer. And he says, what's happening in prayer is that you are presenting yourself for the ultimate gaze, the ultimate mirroring, the gaze of God. Little by little, you become more naked before that perfectly accepting gaze. It's like love making. You slowly disrobe and become mirrored perfectly in the gaze of the Supreme Lover. You gradually allow yourself to be seen, to be known in every nook and cranny. Nothing hidden, nothing denied, nothing disguised. And the wonderful thing is, after a while, you feel so safe and you know you don't have to pretend anymore. You recognize your need for mercy, your own utter inadequacy and littleness. All pretense becomes unnecessary and unhelpful. You know that the best things you have ever done have been done for mixed and false motives, and the worst things you have ever done were done because you were unconscious. Anyhow, a few words. But expressing this, the importance of allowing ourselves to be seen. In the beginning, it may sound terrifying, and because we have to trust, being seen naked, being seen transparently. But eventually, when that happens, it feels so safe and so liberated because, I don't need to pretend. I can be myself. I'm being already accepted. So that's what prayer is supposed to be about. And chanting, I will say, it's not different from that. Because chanting is not chanting. It's not just repeating, but just doing it from a certain place. How I'm showing up for my chanting, from which place I'm presenting myself in front of the whole names in Krishna. Hopefully from a place of nakedness in this sense, like here I am, transparent. You are seeing me, and I want to receive your glance, and I allow myself to be seen fully by you and trust your glance of love and unconditional acceptance. So my chanting, my service is an attempt to return the gaze and return the embrace you're already giving me, something like that. Yeah, anyhow. Okay, we are almost 2 hours, so I don't want to overextend myself. You may have some other things to do, and also we have to...
Yeah, class on Saturday.
Sorry again?
We have a class on Saturday.
We will have one last meeting this Saturday, which is also Upashtami and other celebrations on that day. Subal, Besh, Milan, and some others. So that will be our last meeting. It will be in the other place. We have done the other places in Gore Village, and Saturday,
I'll post it on-
in the morning, Saturday morning. Thank you so much for coming, for your time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, sadhu-sanga ki jai, Gaur Preman Haribu, Vancha Kalpataru Vishta, Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Hari Bol.